Hello, everyone. How are you? How are you in this season of containment, isolation? I think it's moving us to new ways of being. Obviously, you probably heard so much talk around what the deeper meaning of this virus invites us to. For me, it feels like a regroup, a reassessment, looking at what's most important and coming into what better time, actually, to come into sovereignty, into your inner alignment and knowing in that queendom within. Today's episode is a beautiful conversation with Dimple Thakrar, and Dimple is her real name. It's actually a traditional Indian name. She has an Indian heritage. She's from India, but she was born and raised in the UK, so you'll love her accent. But we met in Costa Rica at a luxury marriage retreat. And we have had this common shared vision, passion, and desire to bring healing to marriage. Mine has been hard fought. A lot of you know I have recently reconciled with my husband. We were on the verge of divorce. We were separated over 6 months before we came to our senses and decided that we wanted to stay together and make it work for our family of 7. And how deep and expansive our love for each other actually was. And the whole awakening around that is something I still haven't completely spoken out with, but there's been a lot of forgiveness, a lot of understanding, a lot of humility, and a lot of pain and suffering that went alongside that. But Dimple's been a great force in helping us to come back to center. So you're going to love this discussion because now we need strong couples. We need conscious couples who will rise up and weather this collective storm we're facing on the earth as a united front. This will come out in our discussion, but she and I are offering a free marriage masterclass, and you can just find details on that at standspeakshine.com or standspeakshine.com/marriage masterclass. This is free. It's a 2-hour where we go a lot deeper in exploring, some of the things we'll talk about in this episode. It is free. It is April 23rd in webinar format, so you'll want to register for this. And as I say, 2 hours of just deep dive into what is needed right now to really get clear on the healing of your relationship and deeper the healing of you and knowing who you are so you can come as a sovereign self into an honoring of each other as sovereign beings and then as a united front in that kingdom and queendom as a coupleship. So whether you're married or not, this is a powerful episode and you will love her. You will love how real she is. She shares her story in this episode of literally, her story is not that different than mine. Dimple is now a world-renowned love and relationship coach. She works with celebrities and executives, elite executives who are desperate to feel love and have the intimate relationship of their dreams. So she kind of helps them rekindle that passion and share the tools and strategies to rebuild and maintain an extraordinarily loving relationship. Well, Dimple, this is just going to be awesome. I can tell already. I mean, the synergy between us and the oneness in our vision and purpose is uncanny.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. So just to give our listeners a little context on how we happened upon each other's paths, which I think is totally divine at this stage. Like it's just apparent we were supposed to meet. But as with anything that arises in life where we are meant to show up in a space to teach or heal or bless people or awaken, usually we have some kind of pain point around what that is. Painful life experience, something in our journey shows up to illuminate where things need to shift and change. And it just so happens, and a lot of my listeners know this, that my husband, Jeff, and I, who've been married almost 25 years, we have been separated since June of this year. And we're technically not separated in the sense that, we definitely are in reconciliation. We're moving back in together in a new house, in a
Yay!
few weeks. But it has been such a complete undoing. My life has been in so many different transitory states. And my marriage was one of those things that I had just always put on the back burner when it came to my personal development path. parenting, all the many demands that pined for my attention in life, it seemed like Jeff was just the one that always got put to the bottom of the priority list. And I didn't really have complete conscious awareness of this. But through a series of interesting events, we just completely drifted. And I would say more me than him. I mean, he for sure wasn't being treated like a king, and I wasn't feeling like a queen. And we'll get to that, I'm sure. But it just became a perpetual chronic neglect. And so we'll go deeper into that, I'm sure, because I know there's a lot of parallels with your journey and mine, your story and mine, because we've been married almost exactly the same amount of time.
Yes.
And but let's tell everybody how we met. So when Jeff and I decided that we were going to work this out over the summer, we went to, well, actually it wasn't over the summer. It was like a month and a half ago.
Yes.
We went to Costa Rica to a luxury couples retreat. And it so happened that the people who were going to facilitate the retreat, were not able to be there because of a family emergency. And so you were there to help facilitate it. And our rooms were literally right next to, I tell people my first experience of you. So I'm getting ready the first morning, and we knew that there was a couple from England that was staying right next to us, but we didn't know your names. We didn't know anything. And so I'm getting ready in the bathroom, and I hear this singing. Well, first I hear this music. It's like the oldies, like 60s or something, 50s or 60s. And then I hear this female voice just belting it out. And I knew that you were in the shower because I could hear the shower running. Like, who does that? And I wasn't sure how to sit with it. I'm like, that's amazing. Does she not have jet lag? Like, I knew that you rolled in really late the night before. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know what to do. Like, I had a picture of you, what I thought you looked like in my mind. And
wow, that's interesting.
So that was my first experience of you, sight unseen. But then when I actually met you and just felt this genuine warmth, just this authentic presence, very caring, very loving, but also very fierce feminine. So and then now having gotten to know you and having multiple conversations with you, spending lots of time, now I'm like, all right, she's a soul sister. And, but I just have to share with everyone. That was my first impression.
God bless you. Honestly, so funny. So if I could just share, here's one of the things that this is one of my morning rituals. I have a playlist that I play, that I purposely play, because who has those mornings where you just feel like it's not going to be a great day, or you're tired, or, you and I are more or less at the same place in terms of our life cycles and where we're at. And certainly for me, my hormones at the moment play a big part in my energy levels.
Yeah.
And also in my libido, and also in all those things. So I actively have morning rituals that I do, even if I don't feel like it. And that particular morning, Cherie, I was actually super jet lagged.
That's amazing.
And I don't know whether I shared this with you or not, but that's one of the rituals that I do in the morning to get my vibration high, to get me out of feeling sorry for myself and actually being in a place of absolute love and gratitude for the fact that I'm in freaking Costa Rica and it's beautiful.
Oh,
and so to change my focus, because let's face it, everything we do, we have to decide whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it was impressive. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, that's so far from what I would do. But now I told you, I want your playlist. I want to start doing that.
Yeah.
So I love that you're saying this because it definitely feeds into the whole nurturance of relationships and self before partner.
Yes.
But let's okay. So Jeff and I are there, and we're committed to each other, and we're like, okay, we're going to make this work. We have 5 kids. You know, we're two very, you know, we're family. He's a family man. I'm a family woman. We want to make this work. We love each other, and we just didn't know how.
Yeah.
We had been to marriage counseling, and it was not completely a waste. However, it really messed with our minds. It really messed with our own sense of sovereignty and how we can have freedom but not threaten the attachment to each other. So we were just in a space of disillusionment with that when we showed up to Costa Rica. But here we are in this gorgeous, I mean, have you ever been anywhere that amazing? Like beyond beautiful, just the accommodations, the food, the
Oh,
atmosphere. I mean,
it was beautiful.
it was. And then there were only 6 couples. So you were there and you just immediately went into a powerful space of like the healthy version of an alpha female for all of us. And
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting you say that actually, because for me, I went into who I am, which
which is
is a
yeah.
beautiful, strong, feminine woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know, and I've worked hard to get to this place. Actually, when I say I've worked hard, that's really interesting. I've actually worked at letting go. That's what I've worked at doing,
Mm.
at deciding that actually it's not hard work if you let go and you trust your inner being. And we hear this all the time, and then I'm like, yeah, that's okay, but how do you actually do that? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Right. And that seemed to be where we dove in with the women and the men is the delineation of the masculine and the feminine, which I have been teaching for a long time. But having been there, I have to say, this was the first retreat that I have ever been to where there were men there.
Right,
I mean,
right.
like a sustained retreat. I've been to events where there are men, but like overnight retreats where there's men. And I hadn't
Yes.
realized that, but it really changed the there wasn't a power differential, but it felt a little bit like, oh my gosh, here are these amazing men that the little boys inside and these powerful women, little girls inside, and we're just trying so hard to understand each other. And
Yeah.
it was such a beautiful witness to how everyone just wants to be with their beloved, but they love each other, but there's so much there to sort and they just don't know how to do it. So for me, the bottom line was trying to understand each other. So I got triggered there, but I brought myself right back. And thanks to some of the tools and the teachings that you employed, it was like light bulbs were just turning on, boom, 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 boom. And I remember at one point you told me, and you did it in such a fierce but kind way that I could receive it without getting overly triggered and shutting down, because I
Yeah.
tend to do that when someone confronts me. But there was another powerful female next to me, and we won't say her name, but she's amazing.
Yes.
And she's very driven in business and very much was in her masculine, and I was in my masculine, and we were not realizing it as a protection. And you said to me, and you said some things to her, but then turned to me and you said, do you realize how much you interrupt Jeff? And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting, isn't it? Because that's what I call, and that in my work, because I now have devoted my life to saving marriages and reducing the divorce rate by half. That's my mission and my purpose. And the reason I can do this work is because I got woken up in the
Oh
same
yeah.
way that I was waking you guys up.
And I want to go there. I want you to share because your story is so incredibly unique and powerful of how you woke up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, let's go there.
Oh gosh, here we go. I've got goosebumps every time I tell this story. I get goosebumps, and so As you said, Cherie, we're almost identically the same years of marriage. We'll be celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary in August, and I think you are in May. Is that
June,
correct?
in June, end of June. Yeah.
Yeah. And so at around about our 20th year, we had planned our divorce like a exit strategy, because my beautiful man and I love each other dearly. Atul is the most incredible human being, and we love each other dearly, but we just got to a place where we couldn't seem to communicate with each other in a way that wasn't hurtful, in a way that wasn't, I just couldn't get through to him. He didn't hear me, he didn't get me. And I didn't get him. And I kept hurting him, but I didn't know how to fix it. So we decided that it was better for our children, because we went through waves of arguing fiercely to silences for months.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's that tension in the house. And
Mm-hmm.
so we planned our divorce like a business strategy. So when our children were old enough for them to cope with it, so we thought we would continue to torture them until then. So we planned our divorce for our 25th wedding anniversary. And then I, by divine universe, was basically shown to go and see Tony Robbins at an event in London, because I'm based in the UK, and I'd never heard of the guy. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he's a 6'7", amazing, what I would class as the best transformational coach you could ever possibly meet on the
He
planet.
is, yeah. We took our three older kids to see his live event in Chicago a couple years ago. And that man, I mean, you can think what you want. It's to some people his controversial figure, but that man is a giant in the field of transformation. He has the biggest heart and
Yeah.
the biggest presence, and he's formidable, but he's
Yes.
so beautiful as a human. I mean,
Yes.
I love
His
him.
intention and his integrity is so pure, so pure. And so, and he is pure love based. And, you know, there's mixed views on this, but actually, there's always going to be people that don't like what you do.
Yeah, you're never going to have raving fans in every, yeah.
Exactly. So, so basically, cut a long story short, I went along to UPW and Unleash the Power Within, and I straight away signed up for his Platinum Partner program, which is his elite program that you can basically follow him around for 12 months doing all his events. Now, bearing in mind, this is at a time when I just started my business. So I was literally 5 months into a brand new business, coaching business. And I'd been coaching and I have been coaching now for nearly 25 years, but I worked in a company before then. So this is me going independent.
Right. Just being
And
the entrepreneur.
yes. And so, having only been in my business 5 months, I clearly couldn't afford the expense of this. I mean, this is his elite group of people. Yeah. He calls them his platinum family, and you really get to know him. You know, this is not a plug for his platinum partnership. This is just the truth of what happened.
Oh yeah, I know. I have a handful of associates and friends who've done his platinum partnership program, and they really get to see the real him and his true heart and soul around. Yeah, not the man you see on stage.
No, you get to feel this guy. I mean, really. And so the reason I signed up was because there was an event that was for platinum partners in Hawaii called Relationship. And for some divine reason, this is following your feminine intuition when you have no clue why you're doing what you're doing, but you just know it feels right from every part of your body. And so I signed up. Now, bearing in mind, my husband and I were planning our divorce, and he had no idea who Tony Robbins was. And this was the first time I was going away on a personal development event away from the family, because my husband is a serial entrepreneur. So while I
He
have
and
all,
I just have to insert here. Your
yeah,
husband, Atul, and my husband, Jeff, are basically the same person.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They are big thinkers in business and out of the box entrepreneurs. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
totally. They got on like so well. And so what was so interesting was that, so here I am, I've signed up for this event, for this program. And usually it's my husband that travels and I stay at home. I had an amazing career, but I was the one that was the stable at home. And so I sign up and then I ring him at midnight. I ring Atul at midnight and I say to him, and I'm scared stiff because I've never traveled on my own before. I had no idea what it meant. And this is exactly what happens when I follow my feminine intuition. It makes no sense whatsoever, but I always end up in the place where I'm meant to be. So I signed up and I rang Atul and I said to him, please don't shout at me, but I've done something crazy. And I just want you to hear me out. And with hindsight, I'm thinking he's probably thought I've slept with somebody. Because, like, like I'm just thinking, like, it's the middle of the night. And so he said to me, and this was lesson number one, and this is why I'm going into detail with this piece. He said to me, whatever it is, we can deal with it. Just tell me. He says, I've been traveling the world for 48 hours right now. I'm so tired. I can't, like, my brain can't compute. And he said, just tell me. So I said to him, I've joined something called Platinum Partnership and it is 75,000 US dollars. And I vomited it out. I just literally vomited the words out. No idea that actually the additional cost and the time away from home. And this is what he said. Like, we didn't have the funds to pay that straight away. You know, like, I'm starting
Plus,
my business.
plus you still had mapped out your divorce strategy.
Yes.
You were still
yes,
divorcing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. This is what this beautiful human being said to me. He said, 20 years ago, you took a job so that I could follow my passion and develop businesses and follow my dreams. And you were the sole breadwinner so that we had stability. You took care of the girls. You were the one there every day for them. And he said, so the way I see this now, this is just an investment in your business. We can make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just cried.
Mm.
At the bottom of my heart, I cried because that was the first lesson. What had I not been seeing in this beautiful human being? That despite everything and the pain that he was feeling and that I was feeling, he was showing me unconditional love.
Mm.
And all the time that I'm after this strong man to take care and make the decisions and not be a pussy, how often had I not noticed his strength? How often? So that was the first piece. And then the second lesson was getting him to come to Maui because it's the only event where your partner can come.
Mm.
And Maui for us is like a nearly 2-day trip to get to Maui. So it's not an easy feat. And then the dates come out. The dates of the trip happen to clash with he'd just taken over a huge business, which he doesn't normally do, normally consults for businesses, but he had taken over this business and it was a family business and he just bought it. And so he bought that in the September and he bought that in the summer and the event was in October. it just so happened to clash with his new company's biggest trade show in France. What is the universe like? Please, come on.
Lay down your priority. Like, yeah, an
Yeah,
invitation to look at priority.
yeah. And so he had a choice. Does he choose 150 people, his father and his brother, or does he choose love and choose me?
So were you like going into that event thinking, I'm going to repair my marriage with this? I mean, why did you want him to come?
Because it was make or break.
Mm.
It was literally make or break. I felt like I have so much love in my heart for this man and I don't know how to fix this. And I was scared to lose him, but I knew that we couldn't continue this way, because it was when you love somebody so much and you see so much pain, you would rather let them go if you don't know how to fix it. And so literally what was going through my mind, Cherie, was this is the last resort. This is like, and divine pull. That's the other thing. There was something inside of me that was pulling me towards this event. So, lesson number 2, all those years that I thought he was choosing work over me.
Mm.
And the truth is, he always chose love. He chose to work those hours because he loved me and because he wanted to provide for the family. And so there were major insights even up to before going. So we get to Maui, we're at Relationship. This is his first ever event. He's never been to a personal development event. He doesn't even know who Tony Robbins is.
Oh my gosh.
So can you imagine? Right? And so
That's a way to break someone into the world of personal development.
Day 1, and here's the other piece. I was taking him along because he needed fixing. It was all his fault. The problem with our marriage was him.
Yeah.
He clearly couldn't see how amazing I was, because I'm a coach. I do all this stuff. I know all the answers.
Yeah. I know. I get it.
He needs fixing. He needs to man up. He needs to like grow some balls. So, day 1, and we sit together and it's all lovely. And the first day, Tony Robbins says, who in the room doesn't want to be here? And he has his arm behind his back, like who's had their arm twisted to be here. 3 people stand up out of almost 500 people. One of them is my husband, actually.
Oh, well, that took a lot of bravery for him to do that.
Oh my God. I was literally in that moment, it was like it was frozen. I was split in half. There was one part of me that was saying, I am so embarrassed in front of all my platinum partner friends. How dare he embarrass me? Because by this point, I'd got to know some buddies because I'd been to 3 events. And then the other part of me was going, I am so proud of this man for standing up for what he believes in, no matter what. He doesn't give 2 hoots who stood in front of him, even if it is a 6'7" giant. And so that was the feminine part of me, and the masculine going, sit the fuck down. Excuse my French, but that's literally what was going on in my head. So Tony looks him in the eye. He looks him straight in the eye, and he pauses and he searches for the soul in the man. And he says to Atul, I ask one thing of you. And he speaks to him with such respect, man to man. And he says, I ask you to just keep an open mind. That's it. That's all I ask. And because of the way he did it and the absolute honor and respect to which he addressed Atul, Atul looked him in the eye and he nodded and he said, I can do that.
Mm.
It was such a magnificent exchange of masculine strength and honor and respect. It was beautiful.
Mm.
And I started to see something in Atul that I hadn't seen for a long time. And it wasn't that it wasn't there, I just hadn't been looking. I had blinded myself to it. And so that was another lesson. And then day 2 arrives. And day 1 evening, we have a huge row. Like we have a big fight in Maui at Relationship. Imagine. So day 2, I say to him, that is it. We are done. I don't want you sitting anywhere next to me. I am going to sit on the front row full of significance with my platinum partner friends. You can sit wherever you like. He knows nobody in this event.
Mm.
Right? I see now that I was being the bitch from hell. Right? I was awful. Like the whole day I had a face on, like the sternest mask. And he kept coming to comfort me. He could see I was hurting and he kept coming to comfort me and I kept pushing him away. And the coaches in the room were like, Dimple, what's going on? What is wrong with you? So this continues all day. And then at 10:30 at night, when Tony has done a 12-hour day, he sat at the back of the room and we have a live Skype call from a well-renowned relationship expert, and her name will come, Esther Perel.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she finished her piece and then she said, any questions, comments? So I stand up and say, thank you, Esther. So you're telling me you don't have to forgive. Oh my God. So it's like 1 point for me. I don't have to forgive him over there. Right?
Yeah.
And then I sat down and when you read the energy in the room and it suddenly drops and you think, have you ever had that moment where you realize you've said the wrong thing?
Mm.
And suddenly I feel this huge presence coming from the back of the room. And it's a fee, fi, fo, fum. And it's Tony coming down the aisle with such fury and anger. And he bellows, where is Dimple?
Oh, crap.
I know. And I literally, all the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I stand up, and it's like the memory is like in slow motion for me. I literally stand up, and as I turn towards him, he comes down the front of the room because, of course, I'm sat in the front row, and he looks down at me with this, what I can only describe as a horse head, because his head is huge, huge. Right. So just to help put it into context, I'm 5'2". He's 6'7".
Mm.
He's towering over me. And this is my awakening. He starts to bellow at me. Now, I want to pause here for a moment. And I want everybody to know that during the 2-hour intervention that started there was not one moment where I felt threatened, scared, or intimidated by this man. And here's why. Because the whole time I felt his honor and integrity. He was doing what I needed, not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to make that super clear, because he literally bellowed at me with such fury and force. And there are platinum partners in the room that have been in partners for 15 years, have never witnessed such force before. It was fierce. This was my awakening. This was the beginning of my awakening. But here's the third and most powerful lesson ever. As he started to bellow at me to wake me up, here's what happened. Atul, from nowhere, came down an aisle with his chest so out and his shoulders so back, and he was coming straight down the aisle. What was he doing?
Protection.
Yeah, but here's the piece. It took for Tony Robbins to stop what he was doing and for him to point out what Atul was doing for me to notice. He actually put his arm around Atul and he said, "Is this the brother you are talking about not forgiving? Is this the brother?" He said, "Because I have just seen this man face his fear and show me so much courage." And he put his arm around him and he said, "I effing love this man. I love this brother." And it was literally like a, it was like a light bulb moment, because what else had I not been noticing about this beautiful man? He's always been there to protect me. He was about to take Tony Robbins down.
I remember Atul saying, "I knew Tony had a weak ankle."
Yeah.
I knew I could get that.
That's it. He'd already strategized. There was there was no like uncertainty that he wasn't going to take this man down in his head. And I have seen Atul with some rage, and he's not a small guy. He's 6 foot, so he's not a small guy. But compared to Tony Robbins, he is.
Yeah,
he's a slim guy, but he's so strong and he has such rage. I have seen this rage when he's protecting his family, and the light bulb moment for me was, what else have I not been seeing? So I ask your audience, Cherie, what else are you not seeing? What are you blind to and you need to be awoken to be unblind to? How many times do you interrupt? How many times do you stop them from speaking their truth? How many times do you criticize them? How many times do you tell them what to do and dismiss them? We do this because we don't realize the damage it's doing to them. If you want your man to rise, trust and let go. Trust he will, and let go. He may not do it your way. Well, guess what? His way, you may actually learn something new.
Yeah. And I imagine too that, you know, I mean, I've gotten to know Atul's soul, and you're right. He's so kind and generous. Of all the men that were at the retreat, he was definitely in service mode, gentleman mode.
Yeah.
I imagine that was something he awakened to in, like, as far as his own transformation of how he shows up and is more conscious about that healthy masculine. But when a man is in protection mode, that's, well, from what I understand now, a man will rage for 2 reasons. If he feels that his masculinity is being threatened in some way, like in a derogatory way, or if his family is under fire in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have, I mean, with Jeff, it's like, when he had so much fight in him, that's because I was always the one pushing for the divorce. I was the one who filed. I was the one that, and it's very similar to your story in the sense that, there wasn't one thing, there wasn't addiction, there wasn't infidelity, there wasn't any of those things.
No.
We just didn't know how to communicate. So by the time I saw this as a hopeless cause, and to the very end, as I look back now. He fought and fought and fought and fought and stormed and pounded his fist on the table. I will not lose my family. And at the time, I felt threatened by that, even though he would never hurt me physically or anything.
No.
But as I look back on that, it's like, no, he was trying to protect his family.
Yeah.
And now there got to a point where the fight left him.
Yes.
And he just was defeated, and he went away with his tail between his legs, and we separated. And he felt that there was no hope. No hope. And I went into neutral mode, shut down, do what needs to be done, do the single mom thing, run my business. So the fact that we were able to come back is
huge.
massive.
Huge.
The universe did not, in saying all this, I know that you would agree with me on this, because there's probably some listeners who have been divorced or who are in the midst of it. And we never want to put our experience on someone else and say, all marriages should be safe. But even
absolutely,
there's some relationships that have served their purpose, and they need to consciously move forward, move on for the health of the family and each other. But I don't know that that's the majority. Do you? What are your thoughts?
So the data, so the stats. So we all know that approximately around the world, it's about 50% now marriages end in divorce. So we know that roughly, give or take, but that's the average. So every half of marriages end. Okay, so that's the status quo at the moment. However, there's some data that people aren't aware of, that of that 50%, 70% of them state that had they had the right tools, strategies, they wouldn't have ended their marriages. So I absolutely agree with you, which is why my mission is to halve the divorce rate. It's not to end it, because there are certain relationships that need to end that should never have happened. But I don't believe that half of marriages should end. I actually believe that with the work that myself and many others do, and that you are starting to do now, is to show people that there is a way, and that actually we learn ABC at school so that we can read. We learn 1, 2, 3 so that we can do math. Who teaches us the language of man and the language of woman? Who teaches us relationship skills?
Our parents.
Yet we assume that we should know. And actually, you're right. Our role models are our parents now. If half of marriages are ending, what are the odds that your parents have been divorced? Or if they haven't, they've been in a marriage where they've both become roommates because they're defeated. Because here's what's happened. Here's what happened to me and what will have happened to you and Jeff. You enter the relationship with the woman being in her divine feminine and the man being in his masculine, and the polarity is there, and it's authentic polarity. What do I mean? Masculine and feminine attract. So it's all fun, and there's that excitement, and you let them take control and all that. Okay, then somewhere along the line, usually after children, and I'm not blaming children, women start to get fearful. And they go into protection mode. Now, when they're fearful and in protection mode, the only way that they can protect is through going into their masculine. And so they start to demasculate their men. But the men are still fighting. So masculine and masculine, what happens? They repulse each other.
Power struggle.
Struggle, and they fight. And there may be intimacy, but it's not anything. It's like, it's hardly there. It's not satisfying for anybody. So there comes a point in the relationship where the number one thing a man desires in his relationship is. And when I heard this and I realized this, it was mind blowing, not just for me, but the 300 women that were in the room as well. The number one thing that men, their goal, their purpose for their relationship is to keep their woman happy.
Mm.
And the number of times you will have heard your man say, all I want is for you to be happy.
Oh, I have heard that so many times. And I also heard from him over the years, when are you ever going to be happy? When is it ever going to be enough? And for me and my personality, I'm an achiever. I'm in every personality test I've ever taken, from Enneagram to StrengthsFinder. I have a real strong achiever in me. So I'm always looking to the next thing, and I'm very driven, which is
Yes,
so easy to flip into the masculine because I'm just built that way. And I can see it
absolutely.
falling into the shadow side or but for our relationship, I did always want it to up level. I always wanted it to be better. And I was resentful that it wasn't. And
Yes,
so it was like he would say, like, and as I look back on our relationship, it actually chokes me up how often he was going to the ends of the earth to give me everything I wanted.
yes,
And all I was doing
exactly.
was like not being happy with what was being provided to me.
Yeah. And
And it's so
yeah.
sad to me now.
Well, it's now that you've had your awakening, you can see these things. Up until then, I couldn't see the ends of the earth after would go for me. And so what happens in relationships is, because the man wants to strive to keep you happy and keep the polarity, if you remain in your masculine, he will drop into his feminine and he'll become a pleaser and go to the ends of the earth for you,
Which
thinking
is
that's what you
exactly
want.
what happened with us.
Yeah,
Exactly.
thinking that's what you want, and actually it's not what you need. And so then there'll be intimacy, but it'll be inauthentic. It will be a bit like functional sex. It will serve a need, scratch an itch, but not actually be passionate,
It's not true
explosive.
connection. Yeah,
It's not
true.
true connect. It's inauthentic because he's operating in his feminine and you're operating in your masculine in the relationship on the
And
whole.
so that was happening with you and Atul. He was
Yes.
pleasing and you were in the strength mode. You were in
Yes.
the protection,
Yes.
fierce. Yeah.
That's why Tony had to come at me fiercely, because what do you think he was doing?
He was matching your masculine energy.
Exactly, which is what I needed.
Mm.
Exactly what I needed. And in that 2-hour intervention was the first time I actually heard what Atul needed, and was the first time that I got down on my hands and knees and I begged him for forgiveness
Mm.
for all
There's a
the
picture
pain.
of, I saw a picture
Yeah, on my
of,
Instagram.
yeah, it's like, oh, like,
Yeah, in front of 450 people.
wow. So were you doubling down at any point with Tony where you were wanting to still stay right and be the, like, inside? I mean, I know he's
In,
like
yeah,
towering over you, but
yeah. Inside, I kept thinking, he is serving me. At this point, there is something I am not seeing, and he's trying to show me.
were you still
Sorry,
thinking, I'm divorcing this man? I mean, were you still thinking that?
I was thinking, this is the make or break. This is it, Dimple. You take your chance. If you have, and it took courage for me to
Sure.
step into my feminine and let go of that masculine mask. And that's what it takes, ladies. It takes courage to know. When I spoke to you, Cherie, and the other lady about shaking you guys up and waking you up, it took courage for me to step into my masculine to match and mirror you guys and actually say, what the hell are you doing? Wake up.
Mm-hmm.
If you want this man, if you love him with all your heart, wake up. And now I am not saying that it's all down to the women. I am not. What I am saying is, it's we are actually the strength in our relationships. We have the power. We have the power, should we choose to wake up. Because it's Mother Nature, it's not Father Nature.
Yeah.
Like
We are the climate controllers.
yes, 100%. And so it took courage for me to trust Tony. And then when I was able to trust him, it took courage for me to remember how to trust this beautiful man that has chosen to walk this path alongside me. It's a choice, ladies. It's a choice. And they choose to do that irrespective of how many times you strip them of their family jewels.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
And
that moment at the retreat where we were at breakfast and you were matching the masculine with the other friend and it was, we are, this other lady and we are pretty much both, really in, business and, just wearing that, being in defense mode of how that partner isn't showing up for us when we're trying so hard to be doing so much. And it was so powerful to be confronted in that. I know you're not Tony Robbins, but
no.
I think part of my awakening has been, having to, like you were saying, it's not always the women. I mean, I had a list a mile long of his faults and weaknesses and all these things, but there wasn't anything on that list that was so glaring that couldn't be forgiven or trusted. And as I look at it now, it's like he was in default to my behavior.
Yes.
And I was blaming him for being in the feminine mode. Why can't you do this? Why can't you show up this way? Why can't you do that?
Yeah.
And he was
Constantly
just trying to please me.
Yes.
And so I can see the cycle now of me blaming him for what I was actually creating.
It's beautiful. And I honor you for that truth. That takes courage to actually look within, to actually say, hang on a minute. Am I cause or effect? Which am I? And what is his intention? What is his positive intention with this behavior?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really making him happy or is he trying to make me happy? What is his positive intention? And in that intervention, Atul actually made a promise to me in front of everybody that he would never allow that situation to happen again. That he would man up and that he would do what his gut instinct was telling him to do at times when it was uncomfortable. At times at the beginning of our relationship, if I'd have said something or done something that was disrespectful or dishonorable, I would expect him to pull me up. And he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. It's so sexy when your man says, not that's not happening.
Yeah. Well, and we want that, but then we resent it too.
Yeah. But also, if you can in that moment have the awakening and the awareness of, hang on a minute, what is he actually doing? What is his positive intention with this behavior? Is it to put me down or is it to actually help me stay in my beautiful, authentic truth?
Right. So did he get emotional? Were both of you emotional? Were you crying? Was there any?
Oh my gosh, he was crying. I was just like in shock. Like if you've ever had Tony Robbins in your face for a good 45 minutes and then working with you and your partner for another hour and a half. I was exhausted because I had literally taken down a coat of armor that I had been wearing for 20 years. I had physical neck pain for 15 years of my marriage, where that I'd had physio, I'd had all sorts. And in that moment, what happened was that neck pain went. Because I had literally been taking down, I had taken off the masculine iron mask.
Mm.
And I went into my heart and I could see my beautiful man and the pain that I'd caused. And I had to then go through a process of forgiving myself after I'd asked him for forgiveness. And to realize that that was just behavior, it wasn't me. That was behavior, it wasn't my identity. And so this is, if nothing else from this podcast, I want your listeners to know, Cherie, that this is not a blame game.
No.
This is how can you have the most passionate, authentic, intimate relationship that you have dreamt of. It is possible, and very quickly it can be literally turned around like that.
I remember telling our marriage therapist, a year or so ago, I said, I've just given up hope that I'll ever feel passionate towards this man. And that was one of my grounds for divorce.
Yes.
It wasn't sexuality. It was just intimacy and connection and true passion for this being my partner.
Yeah.
And I was so defeated in
passion.
Yeah. And I was so defeated in that. I just couldn't see how it would ever shift.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to live this way. Because I was already awakening to parts of myself already that, we're waking up. Like, what do you want your life to be? And I couldn't see Jeff and I. I think you saw this come out in Costa Rica. He truly adores me. And he's always felt passion towards me, but he had to shut that down because he was getting hurt.
Yes.
It wasn't being reciprocated.
Yes.
And that really has shifted with us. I mean, it's been miraculous.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and it's interesting because the type of work that I do is not therapy. It's about getting results fast. It's about awakening people so that they can have the passion that they desire and deserve,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there is a deep belief among many women and men that they don't deserve that passion, or they've passed the window on it, or it's for other people. It's for the beautiful people.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
I just want to share this very quickly with you because I know we're wrapping up. But my dream, and I already know it to be done, is, when you notice a couple in their 80s, and they are so gorgeously loving and holding hands and kissing and cuddling, and you notice them because they're not the norm. I want that to be the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. How beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
It's
not just about sitting on him in the TV with the remote, and her doing whatever, whatever. It's them together sitting on the porch and they can't keep their hands off each other because they're
exactly. Yeah. Well, they're giggling or they have that witty banter,
Yeah. They still have their inside jokes and
yes.
Okay. Well, Dimple, I want to tell our listeners what we've got in the works because you and I, it's so interesting because you said something, you said to me in Costa Rica, and this is towards the tail end of everything you said, I'm so clear on my mission, and it is to help save marriages. And as soon as you said that you said you were to help save marriages, I had an energetic zing shoot through my entire body.
Wow.
Spirit said, that is your mission too.
Oh, and I'm getting it as well now again, as you've said it. And I have to tell you, Spirit, so I have told you this and I want to just share it with the listeners. A week before, I have been on this mission now for almost 3 years, doing it solo and building my clients up and my programs and all this. And literally a week before I said, right, I am done with playing small. Can you send me my soul sisters? I need to have help with this so that we can reach millions. have the impact. And da-da, there you
And I
are.
have chills too, because I was asking for, I didn't know it would be about marriage, but I was asking for the same thing. Where are my soul sisters that I can align with to reach more people? And not knowing it was
Yes.
about saving marriages. But as soon as you said that, I was like, yep, that's why I've passed through all of this. I mean, I filed for divorce twice in the last 2.5 years.
Wow.
It's like we kept coming back together, but we're so hopeless in how to make it work. But as soon as you said that, I'm like, yep, that's it for me. So you and I together, let's tell what we've got. So we are doing a webinar, a free masterclass, a free marriage masterclass.
Yes.
And it is April 23rd at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 3 p.m. London time.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it interactional. We want to get as many people on as we can because, there's so much. It's 2 hours long. We're going to do this training. We're going to get right to the heart of things for people. High content, high value, free.
Yes. Yes.
And if people don't attach to our teachings and trainings thereafter, that's completely their choice. But you and I wanted to offer something. We are in a time on the earth where we need conscious couples to rise up. Would you not
Yes.
agree?
Yes.
What we are facing, we have got to align with our beloved. We have got, if you're wanting to attract a beloved, this is a good thing to listen to as well, because you have to get so clear right now on who you are, because you can't be in relationship with anyone until that is solid. That's the first part of it. The next part of it is how are you experiencing yourself and how is your partner experiencing you?
Yes.
And so you and I are making this offer. Where people can go is basically the base is my website, standspeakshine.com/marriage masterclass. This will be a masterclass. And Dimple, do you want to just highlight a couple of things that you'll be covering in that?
Absolutely. So in that masterclass, we will be going deep into how do you navigate marriage, particularly in this time where we are being forced to spend more time with our beloved than we would normally, and what strain is that putting on your marriage, and what are the benefits of it. Also, we'll be going deep into understanding the language of the opposite sex. So, you know how sometimes you'll say something and you'll think you have explained it correctly and they just don't get it. A bit like, can you put the toilet seat down after you've peed? And they still don't. And you're like, how many times do I have to say the same thing before they get it?
Yeah.
And so we'll be going deep into some of these really simple tips and techniques that you can use straight away to alleviate some of the frustration that you have day to day, because we are designed differently. So therefore, we have to understand each other's needs and wants. It's the difference between how can I say it's like wanting to fly a plane and not understanding what all the knobs and buttons do.
Right.
You need to have these strategies and tools to understand your beloved, and this is for both parts. We'll be going
we want to we want to make sure that both men and women are on this call as a couple. Yeah,
exactly,
because trust me, and it's exactly how it was at this luxury couples retreat. Having the masculine and feminine there together, learning it. It's not the wife going, I'm going to take all the notes and then rehash it to him, or he can watch it. If you can't be on live together because of the children or whatever, great. One of you can, but both of you need to get this at the same time. To both of you need to receive this information. This virus is deeper. This coronavirus, right? Is just a lot of people are having awakenings right and left around this, and emotions are heightened. I've been hearing from some professionals, that healthcare professionals, mental health professionals, that domestic violence will increase when people have been sequestered like this. all of their issues are going to surface. And having people like you and I who've walked through the hell already and can show up as a force for, we get it. We also have these tools that we wish we would have had.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if someone would have sat you down 20 years ago or before you were married in a counseling situation or an event situation, and you had learned this stuff?
Wow. It would have saved 20 years of heartbreak.
Yeah.
Heartbreak for me. And this is the reason I do it now, because I
And your
don't
children.
want anybody, and my children, I don't want my children to go, anybody else's children to go through what mine did. I want to give people I call them relationship hacks. I call them relationship hacks because what I want to make sure happens is that people completely understand and have awareness as to why their partners are behaving that way. Because when you have that awareness, you can suddenly go, it's not what I think, because we make stories up. So we'll be going deep. Also, what I would like people to do is be really interactive. I'm really, really keen to answer questions. I'm really keen to serve at the highest level. We both are keen to, absolutely, so that you get maximum value from these 2 hours. Because if this can aid our mission in any way, shape, or form, then that's what we're here to do. If we can create incredible role models for our children so that they don't think divorce is the norm. I remember one of the women on the retreat actually saying, I couldn't believe this when this came out in my 12-year-old daughter's mouth. Well, Mummy, when I'm on my third husband, it will be okay. That's
Yes,
the norm.
That. Yeah.
That is the norm for
and
that child.
And I know that you have mentioned this before with your daughters, but our older kids, so we have 3 college kids and then we have 2 that are younger in elementary school. And, the trauma of us separating and how it's played out in the younger ones and then how it's created disillusion. But I remember my son, Noah, who's 23, saying to me when it was finally safe, when he knew we were, getting back together and he could actually speak openly. And he said, Mom, I never had, because I was all about like modeling everything's okay. If we had a fight, we took it out of the house. We didn't fight that much. We never fought in front of our kids. In fact, that's why they were so shocked that we were getting a divorce.
Yeah, because you were living like roommates. There was no spark passion.
There wasn't that passion there to even explode into a fight unless we got annoyed, and then I would criticize. Yeah. So my son Noah was like, I haven't had conflict resolution modeled to me, Mom. I don't understand how to do this. And here's this 23-year-old who's scared of dating, and it broke my heart.
Yeah.
And so there's all this healing has come. He said that about 4 months ago, but all this healing and all this transparency and all this healthy conflict resolution and all of this stuff is now coming up. And it's because I'm working so hard at staying in my feminine. And for crying out loud, I've been teaching this stuff for 2 decades, right? But I didn't understand healthy masculine. I was scared of the masculine.
Yeah.
And so I created it in myself, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But we will talk about this in the marriage masterclass. We will talk about what does it mean to stay in your healthy feminine for a woman? What does it mean for a man to stay in his healthy masculine? What does it mean for a man to be in his feminine in a healthy and unhealthy way? And conversely with a woman in her healthy or unhealthy masculine. So exploring what that actually means. It's everything in a marriage. I mean, it's like it rocked my world to figure out, to put all this together. And I can see how the universe was sending me and preparing me for you and I combining our gifts and strengths and talents in bringing this message out, because I was being taught about masculine and feminine, but I didn't know how to put it into practicality.
And also to have it how it impacts the relationship.
Right.
It's like that interaction. You can do masculine and feminine and understand it, but unless you know how it impacts in a relationship, then you're going to struggle. And that's the piece. That's
Right.
the actual piece, So
Absolutely. Well, okay, let's round this out. Again, people can go to opt into the free marriage masterclass. It's standspeakshine.com/marriage masterclass. And
beautiful.
we will leave this open. I mean, I anticipate people from all over the globe hopping onto this. I have contacts throughout the world. You do as well. And you and I live on different continents. And this is the world now, right? This is it. We've stepped into virtual connection.
Beautiful. All my clients are around the world. For me, it's always been virtual. I just wanted to add, Sherry, that also before that session, if people want some absolutely free content on how to do quick top tips, I have on my Instagram page, the Love Coach Dimple, Dimple, There's some free video content on there on how to get what you want without nagging, how to ask for guilt-free sex. There's lots of, I want to be able to give people some free value up until then. So they get a taster for
your style and your energy.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell my listeners, because they know me, they know my heart, they know, what I'm about. And I don't usually do this. I don't usually align with someone like I'm aligning with you. I'm very, very careful about who I partner with, because I want purity of heart and intention. And you have that. So I just want to assure everyone.
Oh, God bless. And I feel the same.
Perfect. So that's why God put us together. And that's why God the Mother and God the Father. And that's why we get to bring what we've learned over decades in our professional work, working with people and personalities, and then what we've walked through and what we've honed, and the skills and the principles that are going to literally save marriages. I have that knowing. That we will do that together. And it's just because we're showing up as messengers. It's not that we're so magic.
No,
it's that we're showing up and we're speaking it out. And like you said, these hacks, these tips, people just want the bottom line. How do I do this?
Yeah. Relationship hacks. And also knowing that this isn't like, I've been to marriage counselors in the past who aren't married. So my husband and I, we literally live this stuff daily.
I know. I've seen you guys. I see. And it's not that you don't get triggered.
No,
and
we
it's
do.
not that, yeah. It's that you'll always be triggered. It's just, how do I come back to the love?
Yes.
And the respect.
Yeah.
And you're going to teach. We both are, because I have my own little tool bag around coming back to center and in alignment with your own authenticity, so you don't sell yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that core piece, I think you said it at the beginning, it's about letting go. You said something about, what did you say?
Yes. I said, I've worked hard on this piece. And actually, no, I haven't. I corrected myself. I said, I've let go of working hard and I've come back to who I am.
And that is what I've learned so powerfully. And I'm still working. I'm not working at it. I'm working at letting go.
Yeah. Well, we all are, aren't we? When we've raised our awareness to it. So, gosh, this is going to be so much fun.
I know.
So
it is. I'm like, it keeps me up at night. I'm so excited. So again, that's standspeakshine.com/marriage masterclass, totally free, 2-hour training. You'll want to register for it. It's Thursday, April 23rd at 10 a.m. to noon Mountain Time. And so thank you, Dimple, for we'll go more into depth of what happened after Tony Robbins, and how you made it work, how I made it work, how we're still in the throes of this, how there was this miraculous, beautiful transcendence and transformation that happened within our marriages, and how our families have experienced this healing. Because it really is not about us, right?
No. Oh my gosh, no.
No. And I think we both have this knowing that we walk through this because we have such a strong desire to bless and teach and bring people to real, true healing. So thank you so much, my friend, for this time.
Thank you, Cherie. It's been absolutely amazing. So much fun.
So excited. So excited. So if you are a strong woman and you are suffering in your marriage, you're not alone. Take it from two women who almost divorced. I will be sharing my story along with Dimples, getting to the heart of the training, actually, and heart of the matter, if you will, on our marriage masterclass, April 23rd, 10 a.m. to noon Mountain Standard Time. Go to standspeakshine.com for more information on how to register for free. It will be recorded if you can't be on live, but just know that, again, you're not alone. This is a time on the earth where people are rising up to reclaim what was lost. Yes, things are crumbling, and yes, things can seem bleak. This is a greater invitation to step forward and be who we're created to be. And that includes unity in relationships, seeing what we need to see and trusting and letting go, dismissing what doesn't serve, coming to some mind-blowing realizations of what women need most and what men need most. So I hope you join Dimple and I for that. Again, go to standspeakshine.com. We'll talk to you next week.